He grimaced and winced through the Illinois loss, and so did Penn State fans at the final result. Opportunity now awaits, and the QB is hopefully on the mend.
Sean's much further ahead now to being back to 100%, so that's a positive.
The entire team should be 100% motivated after the shocking setback. Our Impact interview guest, Chris Fowler, is in the booth to see their response in the horseshoe.
Off 2 losses, off a shocker. It's the toughest possible assignment in the conference to go to Columbus. So I'm hoping they respond like they say they will.
And she's a model Ohio State fan, literally. Actress and model Angie Everhart joins the crew to discuss the time her son was recruited by the Blue and White. It's time for Nittany Game Week. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Nittany Game Week. I'm Todd Sadowski alongside Jay Paterno and Tom Bradley. Thanks for joining us. It was a head-scratcher. More than a 3-touchdown favorite at home against Illinois. 2 weeks to prepare. I know Coach Franklin is out front on absorbing the blame, guys, but you guys know those kind of losses fall on everyone on the staff. There's plenty of blame, so to speak, to spread.
Well, no doubt. But, at the end of the day, you gotta put this in the rearview mirror. But obviously, there are a couple of things we want to talk about as to what happened. But you got to put this in the rearview mirror because the hill gets real steep real fast right now.
You don't want to dwell on this, but I'll tell you the great thing is you're getting a chance to go play against a great football team at night on national TV with the chance to win and get right back in and things.
Yeah, you can have a short memory. As you said, don't dwell on this because the opportunity is straight ahead. 2 straight losses before they go to Columbus. Certainly less than ideal. Plenty of storylines to pursue in our opening drive. I believe it was our first point on last week's opening drive, and it will be the topic of discussion just about every single week, the health of starting quarterback Sean Clifford.
No question. And, the thing about it is having coach guys that have nagging injuries like this appears to be, last week may be the healthiest he's going to be the rest of the year because he's going to continue to get hit. Hopefully not much anymore. Hopefully they protect him, but they've got to keep him healthy.
Yeah, he's the key to the season right now. And one of the things everybody's going to be gunning for him, they know they're going to be hitting him.
Sean's much further ahead now to being back to 100%, so that's a positive. We feel really good about that. I know Sean felt great physically, on Sunday. And Taquan and Vayu have obviously, with Sean's reps being limited last week, they've gotten a lot of opportunities, so that's been helpful.
I'm not sure the exact extent of his injury, but he certainly didn't look anywhere near 100% against Illinois. It will take an almost 100% Clifford to knock off Ohio State.
I don't think there's any question. But then the other issue you have from Saturday was the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. Illinois being able to run the ball, Penn State not being able to stop it, as far as Penn State not being able to run it themselves. So that really tilted the game in Illinois' favor. And when I say tilt, I mean 7 offensive linemen right up at the back. So they did tilt the field a little bit.
Yeah, I've gone against those ogre packages. Not a big fan of it, okay? But one of the things is, I think, as you're watching, to help Sean even more is going to be get that run game going because take some of the pressure off him, put them in manageable third downs and give him a chance to do some of those things. That will help protect him, too.
And ultimately, guys, the result is not measured in yards. It's points. The Nittany Lions D bends, but only allows 10 points in regulation and are stingy again when it counts the most, Tom, in the red zone.
That's where the biggest part of defense is played. And you always hear this over time, but it takes 3 field goals to beat a touchdown. Just be patient. And they've been patient and done a great job in the red zone.
And I think that's going to be important this week because Ohio State's going to move the ball. The question is, can you keep them out of the end zone when they get in the red zone? And look, they faced 7 2-point conversions in overtimes and only gave up 2. That's a heck of an effort for them to keep them in the game.
They created turnovers, only 3 points off the turnovers, but the only thing you can do, and the guys mentioned, is just pick up the pieces and move on.
I just feel like we got to just hone in on our technique, hone in on our fundamentals. Just keep doing what we're doing, watching film, maybe more film. Just always finding a way to keep perfecting your craft.
It's tough, but leaders spoke up. I mean, we can't dwell on this. Like I said, we still got a lot of football to play. So, like I said, we can go tomorrow, look at what we can correct, and be ready for Ohio State.
Yep, just pick up the pieces and move on. Like us, we're going to the scrap metal. Tom, we go to the secondary, and of course, in this type of game, that many rushing yards, they got to make a lot of tackles, and Jair Brown was there to step up.
Yeah, you got to give him credit. The young man from Trenton Central High School over there came up big, 13 tackles. So a lot of tackles.
Yeah, he was busy in the secondary.
If he comes out with a neck brace on this week, I wouldn't be surprised.
One of those old neck ones.
Yeah,
neck rolls.
Neck rolls.
Yeah, he really, I mean, the defense really kept him in the game, and he was a big factor in that.
Yeah, we talk about the running backs being sore after a game. I'm sure the safeties and the secondaries were a little bit also as well. So still to come, we've got our scouting report. They're one of the top-notch programs in college football. Our experts are up to the challenge. Coach Paterno, Coach Bradley, break down the Buckeyes when we return. We're back on Nittany Game Week. Time for our scouting report. This is one of those matchups that energizes a head coach and all of the coordinators. Going to take everyone's best effort from Sunday through the final whistle on Saturday. And these guys have experienced wins in Ohio Stadium. Coach Paterno, Coach Bradley, let's break down the Buckeyes.
A lot to break down, Todd. A lot of fun here. So we're going to talk a little offense, a little defense, and even a little special teams tonight. So let's start with Ohio State's offense. 3 great receivers, Tom. As you know, they're going to find out if your third cover guy is good enough to cover one of their guys and force you to play zone.
If you don't stop the run game, I mean, so that's what's going to come into. They're going to force you to stop the run game, and then to stop it, you're going to have to get a matchup on the outside, one-on-one somewhere.
Yeah, and Stroud's been able to throw that ball into zones, which is, a guy who's a freshman, that's a tough thing to get to. Now, let's go to the next thing we talk about. Crossing routes, man versus zone. If you get zone, Tom, they read the front side, crossing routes the back side. Talk about what happens if you're a step late coming out of this bunch.
Well, the other thing is bad, as you can see, there's going to be little rub routes going on in there, too.
Nobody picks. No offensive guys
They're
pick.
called rubs, not picks.
That's right.
If it's man, you can guarantee
it'll
be a little bit interesting, very close.
And if they get loose, they can go the distance.
They can go the distance.
Now let's talk about the run game, because as much as they throw the ball, they have a big offensive line, 6'5 and a half, 332, and they love the displays. Talk about the zone here.
Well, this is one of the things. Ohio State has prided themselves forever in this play. This has been going on for years, and they pride themselves in being there with their offensive line. This play is going to be all the vision of the back is the key on this play if he reads the blocking right.
And this freshman's really good, and we'll show you another way they use them. We go to the next thing now. When you get inside the 30-yard line, you're worried about the wideouts. They can hit the tight end on you, but they've also done a great job getting their backs involved with things like this and throwbacks and screens.
In the high red zone, this is what they like to do. They don't do it so much upfield. You get this from about the 30 in.
Yeah, and they'll run a bump screen, slow screen, that kind of thing. And this kid is a great receiver. He's got 3 touchdowns. So let's talk about defense. Now, they like to run blitz because they want to slow down your run game and try and keep everything contained. And if you can get outside, you give them some real problems.
You can win if you can get outside. They're not going to let you outside. They're going to keep you in the phone booth.
Yeah, if you look at Oregon, they had some success getting outside on them. And once they did that, they got them out of some of their out of alignment and went north and south on them. And it was really a problem for Ohio State that day. And hopefully Penn State's able to get some things like this going on.
Well, that's the other thing. They've gotten away from a lot of that man free. They're playing more 3 deep. They want 11 eyes on the ball, no big plays.
And you just teed me up. Number 14 is the guy to watch on defense. When you're watching this game at home, find 14 Hickman. If he's down low, they're probably playing man or 3 deep. If he's back playing the coverage, then you're going to have to read those things. But if with the outside leverage, you'll be able to hit the slants on him. If 14 is down, you can get in there, and that's a chance to get Dotson the ball and have him run with it.
You're going to have to get Dotson the ball this game. He's a big playmaker. You got to get him the ball to win this football game.
No question. So let's take a look at the next slide and see. Here he's back. Now they're playing zone. They've got 6 to block 6 in the run game. You're going to have to be able to run the ball against this front. So let's take a look at what they do here with Indiana. Again, playing coverage, forcing you to play, forcing you to run the football. And if Penn State can do that, they got a chance to kind of control the tempo of the game.
But if they sit in 2 deep all day, not good for Penn State.
Now, one other thing, and again, when you play against Ohio State, if they want to go to zone, they've got to get there with 4 guys. So 14 is back playing safety. They've been able to get there on 22 of their 24 sacks by the defensive tackles defense. Take a look at them with their pass rush group.
Yeah, this defense, to me, is going to live and die with this 4-man rush because they don't have great linebackers this year at Ohio State. I think they're good up front, really good up front, good in the secondary. Those linebackers aren't as good, and they're not blitzing them. They're just going to play coverage.
So let's take a look at special teams. A lot of people, Stout kicks the ball off, put the ball at 25. Ohio State has a different approach, dump and chase. Average starting field position for their opponents is 19-yard line. Take a look at this one. This is a lot of fun if you are covering the kick. Not so much fun for this guy. They got a lot of great speed athletes, so they're going to take their chances trying to get you to bring it out. And here's Oregon at their own 14.
They are looking for nothing but hidden yards. You know, people say, what do you mean hidden yards? Well, hey, guess what? You pick up, oh, we got 3 yards here. Oh, we picked up 5. It all starts to add up as the game goes on.
Well, as the game goes on, we continue on with Todd.
Piece of cake, guys. Buckeyes in the horseshoe, no problem at all. Well, we continue our pattern of interviews and stories with unique and interesting connections to college football and Penn State, or their opponent. The latest example is a model Buckeyes fan, literally. Angie Everhart is one of the most famous and accomplished models in the industry. She was born in Akron, Ohio, and was kind enough to join us for a Zoom interview, of course, wearing her Buckeyes gear. There was an effort, though, to sway her allegiance at one time to the blue and white.
I got a letter from Joe Paterno and Tom Bradley saying to my young newborn son, "We are recruiting you. We have our eye on you." And it was signed. It was the full recruitment letter. My parents were so impressed by that. And my dad was like, well, if it was Ohio State, I'd be more impressed.
All right, so Everhart will be rooting hard for her Buckeyes on Saturday in Ohio Stadium. As a thyroid cancer survivor, she also pays close attention to and is encouraged by all of the breast cancer awareness in the month of October.
We have mothers, sisters, friends, and it's a wonderful thing to honor women and to celebrate the women who have survived breast cancer. And to raise awareness for people so that they don't detect it too late. If you see something, go to the doctor.
Penn State at Ohio State is a 4:30 start for Angie on the West Coast. You can see our full interview at NittanyGameWeek.com. Time to take a break. When we come back, our Impact interview, one of the best in the biz. Play-by-play man Chris Fowler. He's calling the game for ABC along with Kirk Herbstreit. He'll tell us what PSU needs to do to beat OSU in the horseshoe. More Nittany Game Week is just ahead. Well, welcome back. Time for our Impact interview. Another A-lister when it comes to the sport of college football, a consummate pro. He's in the booth at the Horseshoe again for ABC, along with his broadcast partner, Kirk Herbstreit. Chris Fowler, if these two sat down to call a planning and zoning committee meeting, I'd turn up the volume and listen. Chris Fowler, if you and Herbie, I tell you, you guys are the best. We love listening to you, and we really, really appreciate your time. Jay, Tom, and I are excited to talk to you.
Well, thanks, fellas. Good to talk to you. We did so many blowouts last year. I felt like it was a committee planning meeting. We were doing talk shows in the second half, but I hope the trend continues to have a bunch of really suspenseful, exciting games. So I'm hoping the Lions can hang it and make it a four-quarter battle. It's good to sit here and talk football. I've had one of those days where you question everything, kind of like Penn State's offense last weekend. I'm not sure what I expected, but it's been one of those days with curveballs in the dirt. So now we can sit back and talk a little football.
Well, we got some curveballs coming at you later, but we call this our Impact interview, so I have to get straight to it with the fastball. The shocking 9-overtime loss to Illinois. The fans are freaking out about this one, Chris. What kind of impact does a setback like that have for the Nittany Lions program, not only in the short term, but potentially long term?
Depends on how they react to it. I mean, I think that, Iowa was tough, but you could get that. Illinois was a shock. Just a couple of key areas that I'm sure you guys and your audience knows all about, areas that were deficient, areas that were shocking in their ineptitude. The running game comes to mind. But, yeah, it's just I feel badly for some of the guys we talked to because it's their season was one thing, like 2 weeks ago and now 3 weeks ago. Now it's something else, and it's a challenge. And I hope there's no hangover because they're in deep trouble in Columbus if they go in there still mourning the loss to Illinois. I don't know if there's a long-term thing. I mean, obviously, when it ruins your goals of a playoff, it's a test of your team culture and chemistry and leadership, and we'll see how they respond because off 2 losses, off a shocker, it's the toughest possible assignment in the conference to go to Columbus. So I'm hoping they respond like they say they will.
Right. Hey, Chris, for those who don't know, you spent part of your youth living in State College and grew up on some fall Saturdays listening to PA announcers say, Bob Torrey on the carry, 2nd and 6 for the Lions. So Was Penn State the place where the hook for college football was set for you? And if so, what of those earliest memories really stand out for you?
Yeah, it was Tom Donchez who carrying the ball, and they were lucky to get 4 in first down, by the way, too. You're lucky if it was 2nd and 6. No, man, I had no exposure to college football, but my dad was in the faculty at Penn State. We moved to State College in the middle 70s, and so in 1974, Penn State opened the season against Stanford, and I went there not knowing what to expect. I had never seen a big-time college game. Immediately, I was hooked. The atmosphere was incredible. The old Beaver Stadium was a horseshoe at that time, and they had bleachers in the open end zone. Only old-timey fans will remember those days. But for $1 a game, if you were the kid of a faculty member, you could get a ticket, $1 a game, and then we passed the ticket through the chain link fence. So you get like 4 guys in on 1 ticket. That was really a bargain. And so Penn State's behind. They drive down the field. They score late. They beat Stanford to open that 74 season, and I was blown away. And I think it was every single game that they had at home when I was there, and I watched every road game, and I lived and died later on when I left the championship seasons when they were, winning titles in 82 and 86 and losing a couple in there too. I mean, I was just a pretty spastic fan at that point, but that was the spark that sort of lit the flame for college football. I had been a sports fan before, but never been exposed to college football. And I don't know, guys, if I would have ever gotten on this path, ended up where I was in game day and doing the games now, if I hadn't been exposed to Penn State football in those times.
Well, Chris, I was in that same section because my mom and dad were too cheap to pay any more for tickets. So.
Hey, Chris, Tom Bradley here with these guys. You've called a number of Penn State, Ohio State games, 4, I think, but you've witnessed many others since PSU joined the Big Ten in 1993. How special was the border battle become as part of the college football landscape, not just in the Big Ten, but nationally as well?
Yeah, no, Scrap, it's one of those games when the schedule comes out, you immediately look for it. Okay, I know very well each year where they're playing the game, because typically when it's at Penn State, it's a whiteout. We get to call it. We haven't always been able to call the Penn State games in Columbus. Fans who don't know, Fox and us have a lottery, and so the picks alternate. They always get Ohio State, Michigan, because they always have the first pick in the regular season. And then very often we'll take a Penn State, Ohio State game with the second pick. It varies a little bit. We're lucky to have this one in Columbus, and you know how they are. I mean, they're just extra intense. I think that Penn State, as they've struggled a bit in this head-to-head, get more anxious in these games, and I think that it was disappointing last year to see how it unfolded with no fans. It was so bizarre last year. You had the parents of players basically at the 50-yard line and no one else there. What would have been a whiteout. And I felt cheated, man. I felt last year's game was the biggest gap between what normally is and what was the entire season. And that's saying something. So to get back, they're going to have those stadiums scarlet out, where the all scarlet uniforms, the typical hype for a matchup like this. And now Penn State walks in trying not to believe they're spoilers. But as we frame it at a national level, that's the real role, since Ohio State's still in playoff position and Penn State's sort of on the outside of that. But I expect Penn State to be inspired and cornered and arrive pissed off, and hopefully that'll serve them well.
Chris is going to stick around and talk some more about the Nittany Lions and the Buckeyes. We're going to step aside for the TV show to take a break. We will continue our interview with Chris. So if you want to see the entire conversation with one of the best in the business, make sure you go to NittanyGameWeek.com for the entire interview along with other web-exclusive content. Our interactive segment is up next with viewer questions and pride picks. We're creeping closer to kickoff in Columbus and heading into the final minutes of the show. Stay with us. Nittany Game Week returns after this. Time to be interactive with some viewer questions. Our coaches are men of the people, so we thought it would be a good time to open up the virtual mailbag. The first question comes from Travis in Chester County. Yes, before the season, all I heard was depth and talent in the backfield. It's been one of the biggest disappointments so far. What can be done to improve?
Well, I think they're going to need better effort up front from the run game so they can get going, and get some guys healthy is going to be a big part of that.
All right, our second question comes to us from Chris from Detroit with a 7 offensive lineman set. What can a team do to stop that?
Well, very quickly, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to bring in another big person. You're going to take out a corner, or you can go to your goal line package upfield, but you've got to make that decision before the game.
All right, thanks for the viewer questions. Keep them coming, guys. Players to watch.
Well, I think offensively there's a ton to watch, but certainly the running back Henderson is one to watch. The offensive line, how do they match up with Ed McCabe in pass rush? And everybody talked about the first two wideouts. Don't miss number 11 for Ohio State, the third one.
Hey, on defense, find 14 and watch the front four.
D-line versus the PSU O-line. Going to be huge. All right. Well, great opportunity to be part of our growing community. Don't miss our depth chart at NittanyGameWeek.com, which includes these local businesses. Our goal, build a team that supports the show and that you support as a viewer to keep our hometowns strong and our fans connected. We're 10 weeks into the show. A lot of fun interviews and stories in our short time on the air, and you can see them all on our website, NittanyGameWeek.com. Spend some time on the site to see what we've been up to on the show with plenty of bonus web exclusive content. As usual, we finish with some pride picks. Hope you enjoyed the show. For Jay and Tom, I'm Todd. Thanks so much for watching Nittany Game Week. We'll see you next time.